So what do you want to show on the screen right now?
Just this one.
Yep, that's the one.
Ready to go. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Pastor John Scott coming all the way to you from my home here in Woodbridge, Ontario, a city that you've probably never heard of, but welcome to my town. It's great to see each one of you here on this, our very, very first virtual town hall meeting for youth leaders. Some of you are watching from Facebook or YouTube, and you're getting an opportunity to take some time and spend with us. But before we begin, just wanted to ask Pastor Kenton Perrin, who's the pastor for the Hope Seventh-day Adventist Church, to lead out in prayer. He assists there in the Metro South Central as one of the pastors who brings good support to our young people. And so without further ado, we're going to invite him to pray at this time.
All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, once again, we thank you for your many blessings. We thank you for another Sabbath and that you have been with us and you've taken us through another week. We thank you for the Ontario Conference, and we thank you for the ministry of Pastor John Scott and this event together. We're praying for your presence, your leadership, and your guidance. Bless us now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. You want to turn the vote to control? To me, to control?
You have control.
Oh.
You have full control. You're a host.
Okay. I want to thank him for his prayer, Pastor Kenton Perrin. We're all here to spend some time fellowshipping with each other, having a conversation with you, and to hear from youth leaders, from our unique persons from unique ministries, as well as from our presidents from regions. And it will be great to hear from each of them later on. But by way of introduction, it gives us this great opportunity for us to kind of reflect in terms of what's taking place in our world today. What's taking place in our world today is the COVID outbreak. And in the COVID outbreak, we've had to take a look at how it has affected us in terms of our ministry. Of course, as you very well know, it has affected us in terms of how we work and how we worship. For some of you who received the video that we sent out some weeks ago, these are some of the sentiments that we shared during that time. So it has affected us in the work that we're doing and how we operate in terms of our lives. But as we work with young people, it has also affected us in terms of how we deliver ministry to them. We like the kinetic experience and coming together. We like to deliver ministry from the four walls and to share with young people and empowering them to the best of our abilities from our church buildings and connecting together and coming together in a way that helps to inspire them. But COVID doesn't allow us to do that. And so this conversation today offers us this opportunity to talk a little bit about what it means for us to serve and to work together while we're absent for the foreseeable future. We don't know how long it's going to be. We don't know how long our political and civic leaders will assess the situation and give us the information as much as possible so that we could know how to operate. But between now and then, we still have to serve. Our young people still need our help. Our young people still need a word of encouragement. Our young people still need to know that we value them or that they are valued by God. And we still have to serve with the time that we have. And what better way for us to be able to serve than to think creatively and even innovatively and beyond what we have been serving. And so this afternoon affords us that great opportunity. The next presentation, it was intended to be Pastor Daniel Saw, but he is at this time otherwise occupied at another church. And so what I will do is grab some testimonies, a couple of testimonies while we get him set up so that you could hear from him as soon as possible. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call on a couple of people who are on our line. And by the way, I just want you to know that who is on Zoom is our presidents, regional presidents, all 11 of them. We have 11 regions across Ontario, but we also have a number of unique ministry personnel who are also serving in ministry. And so without further ado, I'll invite one or two of them to share as we get Pastor Saw up and running, because his presentation is going to be on the whole matter of mental health and what that means, and how you need to stay sane as a leader during this time, because as you know, many of us experience depression and loneliness, etc. Some of us are single, we live alone by ourselves. And so how do we stay sane in an insane world, in the world that we live in right now? And so that's why we wanted him to make this presentation to you today. All right, so without further ado, maybe I can call on my brother Ernest. Share with us how things are coming along with you personally. How things are coming along with you personally in your relationship with God. How do you feel he's working in your life? We'll get to ministry stuff a little later. All right, so I'll turn the floor over to him.
Hi guys. I hope you guys can hear me. Yeah. My name is Ernest Barney. I'm actually the vice president of the Metro West region. My president was Laverne, but due to some bereavement, she couldn't be here. I just want to say personally, this COVID situation, personally for me, has been a really, really big lesson for me because I couldn't be here. I have never been home with all my family members for continuously, like it's getting to like a month now. And I've seen how important family is in the first place. And I see how important that we as Adventists or we as youth, we should cherish what we have, because I had a lot of plans to do personally. We as youth, we should cherish, because I had a lot of plans to do personally. Can you guys hear me? Because I feel like they said there's an echo. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, but I think there was some looping before, slight looping, but we can hear you.
Oh, okay. So I just saying personally for me, I think it has really taught me a lot, the importance of family, and also getting closer to God, because people beginning of the year had a lot of plans that I had personally to do, but God has shown me that He's in control of everything. He could say there's something should happen and it happens. But I'm really thankful because it has helped me more to understand who God is and how we can rely on Him most of the time in terms of this need. So personally for me, it's great. I have also reached out to some family members that I've never like talked to consistently. And I feel like this is just a great opportunity, and I'm really thankful for God. And my whole prayer is that He should continue to give me that strength to endure, to understand Him more. So personally for me, this is how the COVID has been for me so far, and I'm just, what I could just say is that I'm grateful. Thank you.
Is coming on.
See at the end.
Okay, sorry, we're I'm just, this is my first time doing all of this, but please text and let us know that we're doing okay and that you could hear us. And by the way, thank you so much, Ernest. He's the VP for Metro West Central, the Metro West Regional Youth Association. Thank you so much. And he's standing in place for Laverne Rowe. We're going to call on Simone to give us a sharing of how she's feeling as well. I told our presidents that I'll be voluntolding them today, so they shouldn't be surprised. So we're going to call on her. I see Pastor Saul. We're going to make sure that he gets on so that he could get his presentation going for you. That should be done in the next couple of minutes.
I'm doing well.
Go ahead.
I'm doing well. As I mentioned before, early this week, we're not doing much as a region right now, but I did get an opportunity to touch base with some of our leaders, and they're doing okay as well.
Okay, I can mute. All right, very well. Could you hear me again? All right, very good. Thank you so much. All right, and then we have one other. Pastor Saul, are you ready to go?
Yes, sir. Always ready. Good afternoon.
Okay, we'll have one more testimony and then we will have you plug in. All right. All right. We're going to call on Sister Jonah. She's our co-chair for Compassion Ministry. Oh, and by the way, the person that you just heard was from Simone Forbes. She's the president for Metro East RYA. All right, go ahead, Jonah. You've had a very interesting experience over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I have.
We extend condolences to you, but go ahead and share a short testimony for us.
Oh, thank you very much. So recently, for the past month, personally, I have been experiencing more of the pandemic that's been happening with COVID, starting with my dad, who has recently passed away almost about a month ago. So there's a lot of that's been happening. But through it all, even though with my dad who has passed away through COVID, but as well with my family who has caught it as well, one by one, and now with me who's still currently having it, we still praise God through everything with the community, and everyone who has reached out to us, and the prayers have really showed how great God is. Even through just going through like my dad's life and just celebrating how much he has done, you can see how much God has continued to pour into him and how much he has affected every single person that he has contacted with, whether it's old friends, old colleagues from like years ago to like obviously through me and my family, but also those who have been touched even through the services that have happened. So God has been so good, and his grace continues to pour down on us and continue to like be a testimony to everyone and just witness that even with COVID, even just personally getting it as well, there's nothing that really stops us from, sharing the gospel, sharing God's love, and continue to just to have a smile on everyone's faces, despite everything.
Amen. Very well. Thank you so much, Jonah. And we continue to pray for you during this time because you've sustained such a huge loss. But I'm happy that God continues to keep a smile on your face, and he keeps that pepper in your step. Her personality and her passion for ministry is taller than who she is physically. We always tease each other. But thank you so much for your ministry and the work that you do. And we'll continue to pray for you during this season. So folks, COVID virus has affected us personally in our family, but we will not live in fear. Amen. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, thank you so much. And please send us your comments. Please send us your questions if you have anything that you'd like to say to us, especially during the time that we're going to be having the Q&A. Please share details with us so that we could answer the questions that you have burning in your heart. And we're going to come to that very soon. All right, we're going to go now to Pastor Saw. Pastor Saw is a very good friend of mine. In fact, we have known each other since high school. Powerful preacher. Now he serves with at the ADRA the ADRA Canada organization as program director, flying all across Canada and working with people, helping people develop in the area of community services as it relates to what ADRA is doing in various countries and planning mission trips, etc. Our ministry is partnering with ADRA. We've started to partner since last year, previous to Pastor Saw joining this ministry. But he's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of things to say relating to youth. But recently, he's been studying in the area of mental health. He's doing his doctoral work in pastoral psychotherapy. And so I've invited him to share a few things with us, some pointers, some ideas or concepts that will help us in the work that we're doing to help to keep us sane as we work in this shutdown period during COVID. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn the mic over to him. I'm going to invite him to share with us some concepts. And then after that, we'll open the floor for some questions that you may have. Let's all virtually put our hands together and welcome my friend, Pastor Daniel Saw.
Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you. Good afternoon, my fellow friends, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much, Pastor Scott, for the privilege to join this distinguished group of men and women, young men and women, as we all are. And I want to thank you for the invitation and thank you for your leadership with youth and young adults across the vast province of Ontario. And I'm grateful that I've known Pastor Scott for many years. Before he was a pastor, he knew me before I was a pastor. I knew him before he was a pastor. And we'll keep those things between us. But we're so grateful. And I just want to join Pastor Scott in, honestly extending my heartfelt condolences to you, Jonah. I've been praying for you the moment I heard about it, and may God give you strength and be with you and continue to keep you in our prayers. I know it's a very challenging time. And so know that we care and we love you and our prayers are with you during this difficult time. I want to share with you my screen before I begin. As you know, profound and sweeping changes have taking place in our world, in this COVID-19 world, and it has really affected us in our personal lives, affected our social context, affected our economic context. It has affected every area of our lives, and we have been almost left, as it were, up in the air, so to speak, and we're now kind of forced to live in a digital world, an online world, and talk about the amount of traffic on the internet online, talk about the volume, talk about the bandwidth that's just, unbelievable. And this is our reality. And someone was talking about, are we going to go back to our, previous life or kind of, the normal that we experienced or we knew from before? And the truth is, unfortunately, we're not going to be going back to that. We have to embrace what we call a new normal. And this is what we want to talk about. And Pastor Scott was talking about what are some pointers that we can share and some helpful tips, best practices that we can share with each one of us as leaders, and how we can take that back to our youth, respective youth and youth groups in our churches, because we need to be equipped ourselves to deal with this new emerging reality. And I hope you all would agree that this is going to be a new reality, and we need to be equipped with the right tools and the techniques. And that's why we are coming together to pool our resources and our ideas together. So I want to begin with sharing with you my screen here. And we're going to talk about a few things here really quickly. So this is just a modified presentation from that I shared from before. That I just came out of one with couple of churches, and then after this presentation, I'm going on to another one, some youth retreat that they're having in the U.S. So this has been like high demand. I was just talking about the social health, the emotional health, and the impact it's having on our overall health. And maybe I might be able to touch on that, but that was another presentation. But because of the limited time, I just want to stay on track. Um, and so I actually read this, this is just a little bit of humor, and I don't want to make light of mental health, but you may have heard about the psychiatric hotline. Have you heard about the psychiatric hotline? Have you heard about it? It begins by saying, "Welcome to the psychiatric hotline. If you are obsessive compulsive, please press 1 repeatedly. If you are codependent, please ask someone to press 2 for you." It's supposed to be a joke, by the way. This is a joke. If you have panic disorder, please press 3. This indicates the number of minutes before someone will break into your home and kidnap you. If you have multiple personalities disorder, please press 4, 5, and 6. If you are bipolar, please press 6 and 9. They seem to be opposite one another. If you're anxious, think about all the things that could go wrong if someone were to answer the phone. If you're schizophrenic, listen carefully, and a small, quiet voice will tell you which number to press. If you're depressive, it doesn't matter which number you press, no one will answer. If you have paranoid delusions, we know who you are and what you want. Just stay on the line so we can trace the call. Thank you for calling the psychiatric hotline. It's not to make light of mental illness, but it's humorous, but at the same time it shows the importance that many people don't understand the impact and the implications of mental illness, and it's very serious. So just to share with you a few things, mental illness, what do people look like when you talk about mental illness, which is a broad spectrum? What does it look like? It can manifest itself in many ways. How do we talk about it? Many times, even this little humorous, litany I shared with you, people make fun of it. They downplay it. They don't understand it. And so, because when one doesn't understand something, they don't know how to communicate that and articulate that. And so sometimes it becomes negative and very, of course, derogatory. How do we think about it? Mental illness, mental health, the stress that we're talking about, the psychological toll it's taking on every one of us in different ways, and those that we know of and those whom we serve. How do we think about it? And finally, the fourth question is, how does the media portray it? So 4 questions, 4 working questions that I want you to consider as we just go through this brief presentation. What do people look like? How do we talk about it? How do we think about it? How does the media portray it? Can everyone see my screen, by the way? Can you see it? Okay. Thumbs up. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So let's carry on. So, of course, I don't want to bog you down with too much details, but according to the World Health Organization, depression is a hidden burden. In fact, I want to say this as to preface the presentation, that depression seems to be the foundation or the base of most emerging mental health illness. Depression is simply like that foundational piece, and out of that stems a lot of depression. So when you talk about mental illness, it can ultimately be traced or linked to some type of depression. To what degree, that determines, or that dependent upon the individual, but depression seems to be the common denominator. It's said that affects over 350 million people around the globe, and it's the leading cause of disability worldwide. In fact, there's a page on the World Health Organization that actually talks about depression and all of its effects. So that's just something I just want to share with you briefly. Now, check out these images. Do you know any one of these people? Are they successful people? Celebrities, athletes, Olympian gold medalist, former president of the United States, Very good president, by the way. Be nice if he was president. But anyways, very powerful personalities, characters. But guess what? Each one of them suffered severe and chronic depression. Did you know that? Every one of them. Catherine Zeta-Jones, Michael Phelps. I can't remember all the names, but I know them. It's in my notes here. But I'm just trying to just move it on. But all six of them, influential characters, personalities, suffered from chronic depression. Did they overcome it? Some did. Some lived with it. Some managed with it. Because depression comes in waves. It's not a sickness to be depressed, because things happen in our lives, like right now, COVID-19. People are experiencing severe social alienation and isolation that is precipitating depressive symptoms, and it's actually emerging in depressive episodes. People are having bouts of depression. In fact, in my previous presentation, I was talking about what the number one risk factor that affects cognitive functioning, brain functioning, and its impact on our emotional health, and that is actually social isolation. It's huge, and we have to find ways as leaders how we can still stay connected. We were hardwired for connection. We were designed by God for connection. So again, it's a huge factor, depression, and we alluded to that earlier. So let's talk about it. What are some slang terms used to describe people experiencing mental health? Anyone would like to share just really briefly, just unmute quickly and then mute back, but what are some slang terms that you've heard that describe people who have mental illness?
Crazy.
That crazy. Oh.
Mad, crazy.
Different.
Exactly.
Unstable.
That's right. Are those accurate terms? I mean, perhaps we've all said it jokingly or in some way in passing, but if the truth be told, we really shouldn't be using these terms, because they not only are derogatory, but they can affect someone in a very negative way. So we've got to be careful and be able, if you hear that, dismiss that. Actually, tell someone to stop using those words, that language, because it's very unfair for someone who's suffering from mental health. We don't know
Degrading.
the toll it takes. Pardon?
It's degrading.
Yes, very much so. Thank you. So we as leaders have a responsibility to ensure that we protect those that we serve and those in our circle of influence, for sure. So I encourage you to be mindful of that. Secondly, slang terms used to describe people who have cancer. So, there's a comparison where we're using these terms and, it can affect someone. And so we want to avoid using that type of language, because it is, as you said, degrading, it's derogatory, it shows a lack of sensitivity and understanding, and it's not helpful. It's more harmful and hurtful than it is helpful in any way. So media found that to be nearly 10 times more violent than other television characters, found to be 10 to 20 times more violent than in reality, and negative news articles have a huge impact. This is media portrayal, and it's huge, right? The way the media spins things, or the way they cover or provide coverage for something, can be skewed, can be biased. And that's why you want to make sure you check your facts. And I think it's really important. We have this whole thing called fact checking, right? So you want to check your facts. You want to make sure that you've checked your sources before you begin to disseminate information or communicate that information. Just always check your facts. It's often said people wait an average of 10 years before seeking treatment with respect to mental health illness, and in general illness, but mental health. I mean, because it's almost invisible. You can't see someone who's mentally ill. You can see their actions, their behavior as a manifestation or an exhibition of it. But most people who believe they don't have a mental illness, if they're depressed chronically, they don't believe they have it, and they don't believe they have certain conditions. So it's okay to have a mental health illness. Many of us do. 1 in 4 adults, 1 in 5 children. sorry, going back, 1 in 8 have diabetes. You know, so it's okay. It's not. It shouldn't be a taboo. It shouldn't be. Oh, you need to be isolated and quarantined. And as we're being quarantined right now, it's exacerbating mental health illness as we know it. So what are some symptoms of people? So I just want to share with you as leaders. Some of you know this already. It might be just a refresher or reminder, but here's some common symptoms. Just take a quick glance. I'm not going to go through every one of them because of time, but just take a look at it so you have an idea. Okay, you have a big picture. So any one of these, any one or more of these can be indication for mental health illness in some way on the spectrum. Let's keep going. So here are some major mental health illnesses, as you probably are aware of. Again, if you notice on the right side, left side of the list, you see anxiety, followed by depression. Depression and anxiety seem to have a very interesting relationship. There's a correlation between depression and anxiety. And people who are depressed oftentimes suffer anxiety. And there's also an inverse relationship. People who are anxious or suffer anxiety, it can also lead to depression. Other major illnesses are as listed there, and you can see those as well. Okay, I won't go through everyone because we don't have time to go through them, but you can see how in these 10 categories or 10 major illnesses, a lot of people are affected by these. There are others as well, but these are like the big 10 or the top 10, if you will. So what is depression? Well, most of us know simply it is sadness is a normal reaction to life struggles, setbacks, and disappointments, but depression is different from normal sadness. How so? Well, these are the distinguishing features. Number one, firstly, it engulfs or consumes our day-to-day life. Like this is, we cannot live normally and function normally because it just saturates our lives. Secondly, it interferes and disrupts our ability to work, study, eat, sleep, and have fun or even socialize. So those are the two main things. It consumes us and it interferes or disrupts our normal functioning. And so we actually begin to engender feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, worthlessness, and an intense and unrelenting with little, if any, relief. So be mindful of that. And you might see a lot of this in your own circle. Just be aware of it, be able to identify it. And we're going to talk about trying to see if we can get provide help for people, resources. There are resources out there. We need to get people help that they need. So these are like some ads. It's okay. Mental illnesses are treatable. Life can get better. But again, as I said, people wait 10 years before seeking treatment. And so if we can find early detection, then we will be able to provide help for people before it actually gets worse, before it, compounds, or as we say, it gets exacerbated. We don't want that to happen, because when mental illness continues to build, then becomes more severe, then it leads to major dysfunction and may lead people to require medication. So again, we saw that list. There's a quick list. So take a quick glance. Again, common signs and symptoms. Take a quick pick, or just jot it down, or a mental snapshot. So just remember those. So these are like identifiers or indicators that you want to be aware of. And that'll be helpful. In fact, I was telling Pastor Scott, I'll try to put a summary sheet together and email it to him to distribute to each of you if you want that, if you think that would be helpful to you. Just let him know. We can do that for you. There's changes in behavior and thinking, and that's another one I want to share with you. That's huge. So negative thinking, generally slowing down. people withdrawing, so social withdrawal. Well, now we're socially isolating, right? So can you imagine someone who has pre-existing mental illness or potential mental illness? What is happening to them in this COVID-19 context? Like, do you know, like, just as rhetorical, but does anyone know about anyone who's really going through some mental health illness right now? Like they're really, it's impacting their lives severely. They're going through anxiety, depression. It's huge. Suicidal ideation or thoughts, feelings, behaviors, difficulty making decisions, negative attitude and outlook. It's really compounding the situation. In fact, it affects our memory. It actually short circuits our memory when we are depressed and have mental illness. So let's keep going. Risk factors. Number one at the top, I just talked about it in a previous presentation, loneliness. So that's why Pastor Scott is calling this, so that, it's really great idea that we can come together, share, and then go back to respective churches, our youth groups, our circles of influence, and really connect, remain connected, stay connected, encourage the connection. Even though we're not physically connected, we can still connect virtually through voice and even through image here, because this connection is better than no connection at all. I'll tell you that. Lack of social support, and the list goes on. So you can see that right there. It can lead to substance abuse. A lot of people, I walked out the other day from my home, and next door, our neighbor, young adult, and he's like, man, I can't take this anymore, man. I got to get out of the house. And he started, smoking up bed. He's like weed and all that. You can smell that thing's pungent, right? But I'm trying my best not to inhale it, so I don't get high too. So, but I'm just kidding. But he's doing his thing, and I'm starting to talk to him and giving him practical tips. He's not Christian, but I'm saying, hey, you can take a walk around the block. Do you have a dog or cat? You could walk your dog or cat, and he's trying to tell me that, yeah, like he loves his family, but he's like getting fed up and frustrated because, and without going to details. So I try to just calm him down, de-stress him, talking, that talk therapy, positive talk is really important because it helps a person change their perspective. So if we can challenge the thinking just by a short, meaningful, power up conversation or exchange, hey, it's going to help a lot of people along the way. Have the chat, have the talk. Talk is cheap, but words are important. So those are risk factors. There's a link, really quickly, studies have shown a link between anxiety and depression. They often go hand in hand, and both can actually have a, correlating effect on each other, a corresponding effect. So one may go up, one may go down, one might influence the other, and be able to recognize the factors that actually can precipitate the onset of anxiety and depression. And so that's huge. So a large thing, again, is the social isolation and loneliness. Anxiety and worry is normal. That's a normal part of the human condition. But when they begin to consume us and they exceed our tolerance level, or the term in science is our ability to cope, or allostatic load. When stress exceeds our allostatic load, then it can lead into compromised health or adverse health conditions. So we're always trying to maintain what I like to call healthy balance. Can everyone say healthy balance? Healthy balance.
Healthy balance.
Healthy balance.
Yes, we need that. So does anyone know what that term is in physiology? Remember that word? It's another stasis word. Stasis has to do with condition. It has to do with our function in the body. It's called, you know what it's called? Homeostasis. Some of you may have remembered that in studying biology or physiology. So homeostasis, the body is constantly trying to maintain homeostasis. And allostasis is the ability to maintain stability under stressful conditions. That's called allostasis or allostatic load. So this is really important. So when anxiety and depression sets in, it begins to tip the scale or the seesaw downward. There's a downward decline. And the moment there's a downward decline, we become automatically susceptible to mental health illness and also to other chronic conditions or health conditions. So mental health can affect our physical health. There's no question about it. There's a inextricable link and interrelationship between mental health and our physical health. So we kind of mentioned some of the symptoms of anxiety. You'll see that people restless, irritable. I mean, some people are just like that, but but this is further compounded when there's anxiety, right? And you can see feelings of tense, trouble concentrating, watching for signs of danger, feeling like your mind's going blank, anxiety. You can also have anxiety attacks where you might feel like you're having a heart attack, where there's an increased pulse rate or heart rate, and you start breathing faster, you start breathing, heart beating faster, breathing faster, and you might start perspiring or sweating. It can mimic a symptom of a heart attack or a heart condition. So be aware of that. It's very serious. So we talked about the symptoms in general, emotional symptoms of anxiety. Here, physical symptoms. I just kind of alluded to it, so I don't want to go too much. I know I'm on the clock right now, and I'm probably have like a 2-minute warning just now, like in football. So I'm trying to just get through this really quickly. But these are physical symptoms. Look at that. Sure, look at that. Did you see that list there? Any one of these can actually manifest itself physically just due to anxiety. Just due to anxiety. Anxiety, which is a heightened level of worrying, chronic worrying about something that we're not in control of, worrying about something that may not be even realistic, but we're still worrying about it. That's what anxiety does. Okay? Insomnia, fatigue, etc., headaches, etc., etc. So let's keep going. What is an anxiety attack? Well, simply, it's a surge of overwhelming panic. And so the body then begins to lose control, as it were. So we're out of balance. And then we have trouble breathing. You feel like passing out. You hyperventilate for some, hot flashes, trembling, nausea, stomach cramps, feeling detached or unreal. In fact, we've all been there, haven't we? Like, let's testify. I mean, before an exam or a test or interview, right? We've all been there. And what's amazing how God designed us is that we can handle it at an acute level. So acute means short term. We're able to do it, but long term, sustained, protracted anxiety is definitely going to have a major impact, a major negative impact on our health. So be aware of that. Be mindful of that. What causes anxiety attack? Well, there's several factors, and these are just some of them, and the list goes on. But these are just some suggested causes. All right. So pressure, stress, self-esteem, eating poorly, not exercising, exposure to phobias or fears, and of course, holding in feelings. When we bottle up feelings and we don't express or verbalize or vocalize those feelings, it can really affect us. That's why it's therapeutic to talk things out, to have an outlet, an expression of our emotions, to share that with someone or some way to, share that or express that. Very important. So a question to ask yourself: do you make time each day for yourself? And this is, leaders, you can also ask this of your young people, those that you serve and that you are leading. Do you make time for yourself each day? It's very important. In this COVID-19 world, okay, fine, so we're at home for most part, but people like I'm busier now than ever, I guess, because of the emergency situation and the nature of my work right now. But I've got to really make intentional time for myself. I really do, and we need to time for self-reflection, time to unwind, to thaw out. Are you getting the emotional support you need? That's another important question. Ask yourself that. Ask others that question. Are you taking care of your body? Please exercise. Are you just, couch potatoing? Are you just eating potato chips? Are you just sitting? A lot of people, someone said that they're putting on, quality masks right now. They're just sitting down at home, just, but it's not healthy, right? Are you overloaded with responsibility? Very important question. Do you ask for help when you need it? Do you know how to bring life into balance? So remember, we talked about healthy balance. One thing that you can do, leaders, in working with your youth groups, your circle of influence, your small group, wherever you are serving, is striving for that balance. Ask the question, how about the balance? So mind, body, spirit, mentally, physically, socially, spiritually. Do it like a checklist. Like, it could be a weekly checklist. I would say, okay, how's your do a mental health check, do a physical health check, do a social health check, do a spiritual health check. Really, really important. Like, if you could do that, like even create a sheet. I mean, I have a sheet I can share with you. I'll share with Pastor Scott, and he can send it out to you all as a resource. But it's just a little checklist, and it's great to check out. Hey, okay, good. I checked in with the Vilmara. I checked in with with Jonah. We checked in. And people can know that they're getting help, being held accountable, that they're not alone. So really important as leaders. Please keep that in mind. Please be mindful of that. Really helpful. So what can we do as we wrap it up here? What are some practical things that we can do in terms of treatment and all of that? Well, people say medication, but one of the greatest things that we can do is, first line of defense is logotherapy or talk therapy. And I use that as a therapist. I'm also a psychotherapist. And so we use a lot of talk therapy, logotherapy. Self-therapy or self-talk is very, very good. But a lot of people don't know how to do that. So encourage and share a word that will lift people up. Really important. Medication is used for many people who have severe forms of anxiety and depression. There is, of course, the whole psychotherapy piece where you have cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. You have, if someone who is depressed and anxious or have high levels of anxiety, I would encourage you to encourage them and refer them to see a psychotherapist or a social worker or a counselor. It's indispensable. It helps. It helps. Everyone that I've seen and those stories that I've heard about and heard it from other colleagues, it really helps people, even if it's short term, 2 to 3 sessions, whatever it is, it's better than nothing. So therapy and counseling strategies: challenge negative thoughts, write down your worries, create an anxiety worry period. That means, you're not going to go beyond this certain point. This is your boundary line. Accept things that you cannot change and know that God is in control. Take care of yourself. What can you do? Practice relaxation techniques. What are some of those? So, there's deep breathing. If we had time, we would go through that right now, but I would just list them for you. So deep breathing is really important. Taking a brisk walk in nature amongst trees. I was actually listening to an amazing study. One of my colleagues from California, Loma Linda, Dr. Schwelt, he actually cited an amazing research where there were about a dozen people that were taken out of the city area, urban area, metropolis, and they put them for 10 days in a camp, like outdoor camp, right, in nature. And they did a study on their health in 10 days compared to their friends and people in the city. And they found that being in nature, the fresh air, there was something called aromatic compounds that's released from the trees, whether it's conifers or deciduous trees, that's released in the air, that actually elevates and enhances our moods. And it's healthy because of the fresh oxygenation to the brain. Powerful. Just, I said, wow. And they came back and they were less depressed and they were more positive and optimistic than those of their counterparts that they left behind in the city and the urban area. So I'm telling you, getting out is really important. So relaxation techniques, adopting healthy eating habits. We don't have time to go into that, but certain foods that enhance our moods, like walnuts and omega-3, 6, and 9, and the dark cruciferous vegetables, foods and fruits with colors like blueberries, strawberries, the red, all of these have what you call phytochemicals. These are chemical compounds in the food that actually are found to elevate our brain and to release certain neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which are the feel-good hormones, those ones that make us get a natural high without taking other substances that are destructive. Exercise regularly. I can't emphasize that enough. Getting out there for a walk, just getting outside. Even though say stay inside, it doesn't mean that you can't go practice social distance and go for a walk, whether it be in the night or evening when there's less volume or traffic, but get out there. You need fresh air and get enough sleep. Well, I think a lot of people are getting sleeping in a lot, or just sleeping a lot, right? During this whole COVID-19. But you need good sleep, So try your best, even though we're so tempted to stay up late in the night and do things, and then but these are important strategies. So share that with your young people, with those that you lead, those that you serve. Things to avoid. Well, avoid negative talk. Don't blame yourself for other people's feelings or behavior. Don't use drugs, or people who are using drugs or alcohol, to self-medicate because there's nothing else that they can do. Some people have what you call cognitive distortions, like they start thinking the worst of something, or they overgeneralize something, or they'll say, and I see Vilmara smiling, she's a social worker. This is right up her alley too. She can probably comment on this, and probably will in another forum for sure. And it'd be great to have a panel on this in the future. This is really good stuff. But there's a lot to be said on this, right? So I don't want to go into detail. We'll leave that for another time and place, because that's a whole subject all by itself, right? So we can deal with that. What about yourself and others? There's something called a depression checklist. I can share that with you. And that just is a nice page to see, okay, does someone have these symptoms? And if they do, they might be vulnerable, or might be a potential for severe or major depression. What do you do with a friend who's depressed? Well, I would suggest be empathetic and understanding, for sure. Don't try to cheer up a depressed person by minimizing their concern. Listen to them. Just listen. Don't say cheap, like, sometimes we use these cheap lines. It's going to be all right. God will take care of you, and we just kind of like downplay it. Just listen, just be there. Presence. I see Vilmara giving the affirmative. Yes, just listen. You can, just by listening, it's therapeutic. And then if they say to you, what do you think about it? Or what can you share with me? Or after they've said enough and they're tired, then you could probably affirm what they're saying and say, thank you for sharing that. And you can even share your own personal experience with them. Avoid critical and shaming statements like you deserve it, or, like who would say that, right? Or, you brought this upon yourself. That's terrible. Don't do that. Empathize with feelings of sadness, grief, anger, frustration. Very important. Let me tell you, if you can do this with a depressed friend, you will help that person, that depressed person in that depressed state, to actually go to the next level. You can actually help to graduate them just by your presence, by your listening, by active listening, and then eventually just by your moral support. Right there, you're helping to lift someone gradually out of their depressed state. And you challenge expressions of hopelessness. Now, of course, if someone is saying, I feel like just giving up, quit, and they're indicating that they want to do something to hurt or harm themselves, then definitely that's a time to speak up and say, you don't have to do that. I'm here for you. I can be your accountability partner. You have my number. You can text me. You can message me anytime. I'm here for you. Give people assurance, not false hope or false promise, but assurance that you are available, that you're there. So really important to help those that we serve. Don't argue about how bad things are. Don't insist that depression or sadness are the wrong feelings to be experiencing. And don't become angry even through your efforts, even though your efforts may be resisted or rejected. Don't become angry. Be patient. Hold on. And God is going to use us. So these are just, I'm going to skip through this really quickly. Just quickly at a glance, there are those who, I just read a story about this 15-year-old. This is not recent. This is maybe about a month and a half ago. This young lady in California, she was on high school cheerleader, and she committed suicide because of this whole COVID-19. She was locked up, isolated. She couldn't take it anymore. And so I want to say this is a real thing. Some of our young people, young adults that we serve, that we interact with, who are our colleagues, our contemporaries, look out for this. This is huge. Look out for one another. Warning signs. So take a look at that. If anyone is indicating that type of, and especially if someone has withdrawn socially, you're not hearing from them, there's no calls, you can't reach them, you need to go and find them. You need to do something about that. That's frontline. We need to, that's essential service right there. So don't leave anyone behind or who's falling through the cracks. Any one of those that's in our care or those that we serve or in our circle of influence, please, really important. There's another list that continues on risk-taking behavior and all of that, significant loss, people who are demonstrating or doing things that are not healthy, engaging in substance abuse and all that. So be aware of that for sure. So what to say? Here's some just lines that you can use. Thanks for opening up to me. Is there anything I can do to help? I'm sorry to hear that. It must be tough. I'm here for you when you need me. I can't imagine what you're going through. Can I drive you to an appointment? How are you feeling today? These are called like check-ins, and check-ins are really important. That's how we can really help people practically, really check in with them, right? Do a quick check-in as opposed to not doing it at all. So it's really important. So do those check-ins. You'll find them to be really helpful. Okay, so that's a list that you can just keep in mind as we go forward here. So what not to say? This will make you stronger. Time heals all wounds. I know how you feel. It could be worse. It will work itself out. Don't worry about it. I mean, that's the worst thing you could say at a time like this. Please don't use that. And even if it's by default, we tend to just please don't say these things. That is not helpful. That is so not helpful. So try to avoid these expressions, these phrases. Okay. All right. For someone who might be suicidal, don't minimize their feelings, of course. Don't leave the person. Don't try to be a hero. Get help. There are resources out there. Don't promise to keep the secret. Promise help. Don't argue about the right to just get them the help they need. If you can help them, it's beyond your capacity to help or beyond your kind of scope of practice. There are a lot of resources. There's hotlines, there's helplines. Connect them with some help, with the resources they need. But don't leave people like that behind or alone. Very important. So how you can help? Again, let's reinforce the last few slides. Listen, show empathy and concern. Offer to call or talk to a parent, a counselor, or a trusted adult with them. Encourage them to get ongoing help for their depression. If they're immediately at risk, call a hotline or even 911 if it warrants that, but definitely do not leave them alone. So that's huge. So really quickly here, here's a quick scenario. You notice that your friend Jessica seemed detached and disengaged during the past few months. She rarely comes to book club. When she does, she doesn't say much. You're concerned about her. You ask her, and when you're alone, if she's okay, and she says she's really been depressed lately. What would you say? What do you think? Anyone like to share? What would you say to her? Anyone like to just share something that they know or heard or learned so far? Or
Okay,
that you've done before?
Pastor Saul, we're a little bit over time.
Sure.
Could we? This was the last slide, or you wanted to?
Yeah, we're pretty much wrapping up. This is just a quick recap. Yeah.
We have a couple of questions that are coming to the floor. We can't do the activity today. We'll probably need to leave for another time.
No problem.
So if you can do a summary, and then we'll go to a special number, and then we'll come back. We have a couple of questions for you, and then we'll go into the next segment.
Okay, we're good to go. So on that note, I will land the plane. Thank you. We'll take any questions.
Oh,
comments. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to have now at this time two young persons who are from the Durham Philcan Church, Fritz and Eileen. They're going to be singing a song, very special number, and we're going to cue it up and have it played right now.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it?
Is it coming through? If you could hear it, for those of you who are online, could you?
No.
All right. So we can't, somehow it's not, all right. It's a very interesting system in the back here. I'm just a theologian. For those of you who are on Zoom, I could only see you, so I can't see the folks who are watching online. Everything is all right. We feel like the message we heard today from Pastor Saul is practical. All right, I see some heads nodding. Awesome. So we'll be coming back to him to ask him a number of questions and to pick his brain on some of the things that he has talked about today. And just for your for your consideration, we have Brother Manny, who is behind the controls, who is helping to do all this stuff. And also we have both Brother Kwame and Chriselle, who are with our communications team. They're taking your questions and they're sharing them so that we could have them answered. So those of you who are watching live, don't forget to type in your message wherever you're seeing us being posted or broadcasted so that we could take your questions. You ready? All right, we're gonna go straight to the questions then. There seems to be a glitch, so we'll go straight to the questions. And let's see. All right, so Pastor Saul, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm
All
here.
right, the first question is, we've got, what if it's people within your family that you're noticing with those symptoms, the symptoms that you were speaking of earlier, or behavioral changes? Someone is saying that my culture, so it seems, has grown up with the mindset, keep it to yourself, you can handle it. What would you say to that?
Very good question. And I think I am very familiar with that culture. And I think part of my culture actually, espouses the same type of mindset and practice. I would say that we have to find a way to encourage conversation, because forcing someone to change their mindset will create not only resistance, but it won't be effective. So maybe you can find someone like a family friend or someone that's influential in your family, like could be someone's a professional, and say, hey, can you help me address the family, or can you talk to a member of my family? I think that's one way to deal with it. I think the other way is to share information. Just drop maybe a pamphlet, a booklet. Hey, mom, dad, uncle, can you read this? And maybe we can talk about it later. Trying to find a kind of indirect approach, but you got to find a way to have a conversation in some way. Or, if you're sitting down with them at the dinner table or something, say, by the way, I've been feeling this way. What do you think about it? Just begin to break the ice. It's hard. I'm going to tell you, it's not easy, but break the ice. Maybe invite a friend over that, your family respect. And that would be one way, so that it's not, the onus is not on you, but you externalize it, and getting that external help might be able to be a way to kind of crack it or break the ice and start the conversation.
All right. All right, those of you who are online, could you hear us? It's coming through clear? Oh, awesome. All right. Another question, someone is saying, can this presentation be shared with leaders? To the same PowerPoint that you shared with us, Pastor Saul, could this be shared with leaders?
Well, all things are possible with God, so I think we can make some arrangement with you. Yes, I do want to share some resources with our leaders for sure. So we can arrange that. So I'll talk to you offline on that for sure.
Okay, very well.
Resources are very important for all of us, and we're big on that. I know, Pastor Scott, you are too. So we want to share content as much as we can that's helpful. Yes.
Awesome.
Whoever's talking needs to unmute their mic.
Right. All right. We'll take one additional question from our panelists here, right here in our Zoom conversation. Someone said it seems like feeling is a mental health issue. How do we differentiate? I'm not sure. I'm not clear on the question. It seems like feeling is a mental health issue. How do we differentiate?
Every feeling.
Oh, sorry, every feeling. All right, so let's state that again. It seems like every feeling is a mental health issue. How do we differentiate? That's a bit clear. Thank you so much.
Question. Yeah, I was just looking at it on the group chat here. Just thank you for clarifying. So we got to be careful that we do not overanalyze or don't overgeneralize. So some people say, well, because someone has a feeling, that means, and this feeling, a feeling of depression, doesn't mean that you have mental illness. So we got to be careful that we don't diagnose somebody just because of feelings. Feelings are a normal part of the human condition, human experience. Today I might feel really happy, or tomorrow I'll get up and I'll feel blah, or I feel like just, no feeling. It doesn't mean that you have a mental illness. Okay, so it's very important that you don't label or stigmatize people based on feelings. So it's a very good question. When emotions continue to become, like, for example, you feel isolated, you feel withdrawn, you feel depressed over a sustained period of time, and it begins to affect other areas of your health. As we talked about, it begins to affect your eating, your communication. Then it becomes chronic. Then you can know that it's moving into a mental health situation where it can affect you long term. So please don't try not to collapse all feelings into like one diagnosis of mental health. That's not the case. That's for sure. And feelings, of course, fluctuate. And you might even be in a state of sadness, depression for maybe a week because you had a loss, or longer. You had something taken away from you, lost a job, a broken relationship, whatever it is. It can affect us, but it doesn't mean you have a mental illness. So be careful how we label. Be very careful with that.
Very good. Thank you very much. Here's the last question, and it's coming from our YouTube. Is there any local Christian resources for the talk therapy that was mentioned earlier?
Yes, I can share that list with you, Pastor Scott. I think we have some very helpful Christian resources, counselors. There's a list I can share for sure throughout the GTA. We definitely do have, and people who are willing. And a lot of counseling is now going on telecounseling or e-counseling right now. But definitely we can pass it on to you. So thank you for that. And we'll pass those resources on to Pastor Scott to fan it out to everybody. Just really quickly, the last point about the first question about, so close for comfort, how do you address things? Another thing is sharing a video or, everything, sharing something that someone could watch or look at, a magazine article, and people begin to form their own impressions that begins to kind of challenge the way they think and begin to challenge their cognitive distortions about or even their inability to express themselves. So be creative when dealing with mental health and how you approach it. So yeah, I think if there are no other questions, continue to keep up the great work that you all are doing. And we are here to help you. And as I said, I'm going to share with Pastor Scott some resources so that he can pass it on to you all. And you can have some resources at your fingertips to share in your sphere of influence as you help people along their way, as you help yourselves, and also as you help others.
Here's one last question. How can you take that first step in getting help? we'll make this the absolute last. This is someone who wanted to ask this question.
Excellent question. I used to watch back in the days cartoon called G.I. Joe, and the tag punchline was knowing is half the battle. The first step is to acknowledge, to recognize that, yes, my life is not normal right now. It's not the same. That's the first 50%. The other 50% is to get the help. So you got to acknowledge it, self-awareness, self-acceptance, and then saying, I'm going to do something about it. And if you cannot do something about it, ask a trusted friend, can you help me?
Mm-hmm.
That will go a long way.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, we want to thank Pastor Daniel Saw. There's one other question in terms of similar to the one you was asked earlier about Christian resources, about the conference. We have Family Life Ministries who the Poulays work very closely with youth ministries, and so we can certainly connect with them, Pastor Orlando and Elizabeth. We can see what other resources that they may have for you. Are you all hearing us clearly? Just want to make sure. All right, good. I see some thumbs up. Are you all doing okay? Just wave. All right, wherever you are, I want to thank you for tuning in with us. Let's put our hands together virtually and thank Pastor Daniel Saw for his time spent with us today, and give him a high five the next time that you see him. And the next time you see me, if you want to hear some secrets about him from his past, we could do that now that I have the mic. All right, I think we have the song that is queued up. We have past Fritz and Eileen from the Durham. Now that I have the mic. All right, I think we have the song that is queued up. We have past Fritz and Eileen from the Durham. Now that I have the mic. All right, I think we have the song that is queued up. We have past Fritz and Eileen from the Durham. Now that I have the mic. All right, I think we have the song that is queued up. We have past Fritz.
Find my glory in the power of the cross, in every victory, let it be said of me, my source of strength, my source of hope, is Christ alone. Still
Your screen sharing.
I'm screen sharing now.
Okay. Don't look there. Whatever it is.
Well, thank you, Fritz and Eileen, for that beautiful number. We should have had it earlier, but no time like the present. Just to let you know, from our perspective, we really want to thank all of our youth leaders who have been working diligently during this time. Know that it's a tough season to be able to serve, but you serve nonetheless, and the work that you do certainly will last and also be a great impression in the lives of young people who are receiving from you blessings from God. And I want to thank everyone here who helped to make this day a reality on our first virtual youth leaders, live leaders program. And so going back to the commentary that we were saying earlier this afternoon, we're in a place where we're rethinking ministry in a way that we hadn't thought about ministry before. Serving youth, we have to be as creative as possible without a pandemic. With a pandemic, we have to be even more creative in a way that helps us to think even more critically about young people and helping them be empowered to serve Christ. And I know that you've been thinking about it and have been as innovative and creative in producing and providing ministry for our young people. And I've heard around Ontario that things have been going well. But there's some churches and some leaders who don't have the resources and don't have the access to Zoom or any of the online social media platforms that are out there, so that your work could be as creative for them and interesting for our young people. We know that our young people are definitely at home. Especially for young adults who are in university, they've finished school and graduated probably in the last week or so. And we know that they're bored. They can't go out as much. They can't go to the malls. Malls are closed. Even our churches are certainly closed. The doors of the churches are closed physically, that is to say. But our hearts are certainly open to our young people. We know that our young people are having a lot of life decisions of life questions. We know that some of them might be experiencing some kind of depression or feelings of hopelessness, etc. So how do we serve? And a passage of scripture that has been of encouragement to me during this season, and one that I've shared with our youth leaders around, is the fact that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love and of power and of a sound mind. And that's what Paul says to Timothy, his son in ministry. And so what we've come up with as youth leaders, Youth Ministries Action Committee, we've talked about a couple of ideas. Some have come from discussions, others have come from reading some documents and information that is out there, so that we have been able to access them and sort of collate them and put them together. For those of you who are trying to or attempting to do services or worship services, these are some of the ideas that you can use or implement in your worship services for young people. There's no one set way of doing any one thing. You want to be able to be as creative as possible, and go out there and find the best ideas that are available for our young people. Here's this list that I'm sharing with you, and I'll share with you a few other lists. This one has to do specifically with worship services. We want to be able to keep our young people active, want to keep them engaged in those worship services. Of course, if you're going to be using Zoom, which we're using right now, and some of our churches are using Zoom, there's a feature in there where you can host groups, etc. You could use Kahoot! So that they can answer questions in real time. There's so many ways you could do it. You could host a virtual interactive prayer service, etc. There's no one, as we say, there's no one way of doing anything when it comes to youth ministries. The sky's the limit. By the way, there are some churches that don't have Facebook or even any other social media platforms. As a young person or youth leaders, you could help your church, your pastors, to assist them in creating a space for young people, or creating a space for your church and your youth to worship in. So these are some of the ideas. You can take them down wherever you are. You can write them down. Another one has to do with ministry activities. These are beyond the worship services. You want to be able to create spaces where young people are being their hearts pointed heavenward. And so here's an idea of texting or giving them devotional thoughts, whether it be in a YouTube video or a post online on Instagram or Facebook or any of your social media platforms that you have out there. You can create a playlist for youth gatherings with music and inspirational thoughts, speakers, what have you. How about creating a challenge, a personal Bible study challenge where young people could create that they can use from a youth Bible study app. There's so many of these ideas out there that you can take and download that you could use. You could even use them. This one here, hosting a physical spiritual warfare, was quite interesting when I was reading it. This comes from Crosswalk, and I'll show you the references at the end of this presentation, where someone is leading, someone is facilitating, and groups of people, families with young people are in their homes, and they're sort of acting out what it means to protect oneself by the fruit of the Spirit, and using creative approaches as it relates to one's spiritual life. You could take a look at that in the link that I will share with you at the end. So these are some of the ministry activities. What about other activities of empowerment? Because we don't want young people simply to be growing in their spiritual walk. That's absolutely important. That's why we listed it first. But Jesus increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man. That's another favorite passage of mine relating to youth and their growth. But here's another set of ideas that could be used or employed. You can host a live art studio for them. That would be a person who's, of course, in one place, and of course on Zoom or some other social media where people are looking on, and that person is creating art. And you can comment on it, or you can copy the art or draw as well. It's something similar to a paint party. What about hosting a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live or IG Live, as they say, conversation on important topics, for example? We could also set up a place where young people could express themselves and share their opinions about all kinds of different things that are taking place in their life. What about hosting a book club on a biography? I'm trying to get into Abraham Lincoln these days and understand his life. I don't know what biographies that have impacted your life, but I've read a number of them that have impacted mine. Maybe there's one that impacts you and one that you could use with your young people, and you could have a good banter back and forth about how that book or that biography or even biography has impacted their life as well. You could even host a debate, even online as well, on some societal issue. I'm into politics as much as I am into religion, so topics related to politics might interest me, but you might have another topic that interests them, but also could be of empowerment to them, whether it be on issues of identity or growth, physical growth, mental health, exercise, whatever is of interest to them. You can host a debate and a conversation with them. Here's some other activities relating to social. You can create fun challenges, and you'll hear from Brittany later on, who is co-chair for teens, who's helping out with facilitating these Sabbath challenges. And these. It's we don't call it the Don't Rush Challenge, but we call it the Sabbath Best Challenge, where you get to see before and after. It's real fun, but that's a way of engaging young people in a fun way. There's also exercise and cooking and singing and all kinds of other things. Hosting a virtual flash mob. Another one has to do with Netflix party and watching a wholesome film. Just the other day, the ACF clubs looked at a film called Blindside, for example, and our teens ministry is going to be looking at one later on next weekend on the War Room. You could host these parties that also have conversations online. These help to engage them. They're also informative, and it helps them in their spiritual as well as in their relational pursuits just as well. Of course, hosting a paint party. Many of you have been part of it, of doing something like that, and that could be of interest to you. Again, none of the lists that we're sharing today are exhaustive. You can add to it, you could subtract it, you could marry some of them together. It's up to you, as long as you're being as creative as you can where young people are concerned and helping them to realize their potential as God would have it. Here's another one. This is our last slide on these activities. This slide has to do with outreach, because we asked the question, how can we be of service to God in our community around us, even though we're being asked to shelter in place? Here's an idea that I've been reading up on, where people try to identify the elderly or those who can't leave their homes because they're at risk. They're at higher risk, of exposure to this, being impacted, by this virus. Find out who they are and what their needs are, and protect yourself, of course, and assist them in shopping, going to the pharmacy, what have you, and helping them in any way possible for their benefit, and of course yours as it relates to your calling to God. You could host a caravan flash mob. You could take a couple of cars together. You can go to someone's home. Like it was close in my neighborhood today, someone was celebrating their 40th birthday. I don't know if you've seen that recently, and people, they plan it, they drive down to the person's home, celebrate their birthday outside, or a baby shower outside, and they celebrate the person and what God is doing in their life. Those are fun as well. You can create pop-up sacred spaces. This is an idea that came out of Crosswalk article. You set up a tent outside in some busy place where it could be as simple as a table with material and a place where they could pray and meditate. And of course, you're in a place where you're protected as well. There's drive-through churches. There's also what I call You've Got Mail, sharing words of love or words of expression, words of inspiration, with people who may or may not be going through depression. We don't know, but you can certainly share a word of love, a word of inspiration with them, and drop it off in their mailbox. You can put it in the gift bag, put some soap in there, or some kind gesture that says that you love them and that you're caring about them. So these are some ideas that you can kind of take and look at. They're ministry tips. We could also send this out to you so that you could have it. If you want to send your email, we'll certainly recognize it and send it out. These are some of the references where we picked up some of these ideas. You could take your camera out and take a picture. This is the second page with it. And the final one was the crosswalk that I was talking about, that you could take note of. All right. So, are there any questions that you have out there? Any questions? All right. All right, I don't see any questions coming through, but we'll keep the conversation going. And if you do have any questions, we'll take your questions at that time. What we'll do now is go straight to have a conversation with our co-chairs who are leading various ministries. And we will go from alphabetically in terms of the ministry to from the bottom to the top. So we'll begin with young adult ministry, and we'll go to Shireen McFarlane, who is our co-chair for young adult ministry, and have her share with you some things that are happening and some things that have happened. And if you have some questions for her, we hope to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Hope you all are doing well and staying live and safe. So Young Adult Ministries, we're actually looking forward to doing a Young Adult Sabbath School on May 16th. This will take place via Zoom, and our topic is weathering the storm. And so we're going to be looking at various stories in the Bible where there was a storm or a difficult time in the leader's life. And we're going to explore what they did to survive. How did they weather that storm? And so that's what our Sabbath school is going to be about. We're going to have special music and we're going to have breakout groups. So it's going to be a good time to fellowship and worship together. Again, that's going to be Saturday, May 16th from 10 to 11. We are also just planning to also get some health tips out for young adults from various individuals in their various fields of practice. And so things like mental health, physical health, just a 2 to 3 minute tip that will probably show up in a social media platform so that everybody could get something to boost them, empower them, encourage them in this time, some tips that will help them kind of think about how they could keep healthy. So that should be started, and you'll see it either on Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook from various professionals in their field, just giving us some ideas of how to kind of make it through COVID at this time. So that's what we're up to. And we will be getting that out. So I'd encourage the presidents, if you can encourage your youth, especially at this time, to join us on May 16th for Sabbath School. That would be great. It would be awesome to have as many young adults participate and be there with us as we fellowship. So that's basically it. That's what we're up to. And we look forward to seeing you all there.
All right, thank you very much, Shireen, for that a bit of update, and really appreciate the work that you're doing from Thrive from last year and our Fest last year as well till now. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And if you have any questions for young adults, relating to young adults, that is to say, please forward them to us so that we can have them answered. We're going to go to the newest member of our family. Her name is Brittany Bullock. She is recently been asked to serve as our co-chair for Teens Ministry. And I will turn the mic over to her so she can share with us some ideas that are coming up and some ideas that we have done already. Go ahead, Brittany. You want to unmute you? Good, very well.
Hey, hi, everyone. Like Pastor said, my name is Brittany. I'm the newest member to the team. So the Teens Ministry has been committed to being really active on social media, just because that's really where our teens are. And we're definitely soliciting your support and your participation going forward. So like it's here, we have a Teens Ministry Netflix party coming up. So that's going to be May 9th at 8:30 p.m. and we're going to be watching The War Room. So that's one thing we have planned. Like Pastor Scott had mentioned, we do have our Sabbath Best Challenge going on. Ooh, okay, I'll do Teen Chat first. Oh, okay. Are we doing Sabbath? Okay, we'll do Sabbath Best. Okay, so yes, we have our Sabbath Best Challenge going on, which is like a spin on the Don't Rush Challenge that everyone's been doing with the brush and the camera. We're using our Bibles and we're soliciting groups to do it with their church friends, hopefully in their region, just to get teens participating and still I guess, still having some type of fellowship, even though they can't see their friends from church. And then the last thing we have is the teen chat. Yes. So we had our first teen chat yesterday with PK, Pastor Calvin Klubal, and it was really, really well. It went really well. And that's going to be happening every other Friday. So the next one that we'll be having is May 15th. So if you know of any teens, if you're a teen watching on YouTube or Facebook, please join. Definitely follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram is AO_teens. So you can be updated with all the cool things that we have planned. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Brittany. Truly appreciate your ministry. You jumped right on in. You started in April, and you've been doing a very good job. Folks, if you want to check out teens, go to, there's an Instagram page, an IG page called AO_teens. That's the dedicated page for them to be as active as they would like to be. You can see all the Sabbath best videos there, and you can see other events and stuff that we're planned. So looking forward to seeing you at some of these events. All right, we're going to go now to Jonah. We're going to go back to Jonah and share with us some things that are happening in our compassion ministry. Turn the mic over to you.
Hey guys, so through Compassion, now that we're more in the digital evangelism, we've now decided, like, because prayer is such a huge thing, especially this time, we've been doing now every Monday night at 6:30 called Hope Line. We want to bring hope to everyone, not just keep it within ourselves. And so Hope Line is basically a devotional and also a prayer line series. So this, right now, we are currently on a series called Chasing Failure. So if you'd like to hear more about it, come join us on Mondays at 6:30. The links for Zoom, when it comes to Zoom, will be found from AYO's social media handles. But as well, we've been doing, now that other than Hope Line, we've been doing every third Sabbath. So the one for this month is May 16th as well, but we'll be doing it the evening around 5 p.m. And it's called Compassion Huddle, also known as Locked In, but Reaching Out. So it's a monthly evening service where we bring praises, we bring testimonies, and we want to help every one of us, not just the leaders here, but those who are on YouTube right now, to help fulfill the needs of the community and to keep us engaged and involved in any way possible. And we want to highlight those accomplishments, the things that you have done out in your community to inspire those, to other leaders, to youth, to do the same way, or to help each other out as one big community. And of course, as always, as Compassion, we always have a open policy of invite anyone who wants to be part of Compassion, especially this time when most of us are locked in. So this is our way to reaching out. So if you can reach us, keep an eye out on AYO's social media handles, like the Zoom links, the stories that sometimes we post for the links, as well as even just scripture readings that we send to you guys.
Thank you so much, Jonah. I really appreciate it. And despite, in the midst of all the sadness, God still continues to use you, and we really want to appreciate you for that. So Jonah is our co-chair for Compassion, very dynamic group. Check out the stuff on both Facebook and Instagram. They're doing some really cool stuff, and so you want to be a part of it as well. All right, thank you so much, Jonah. Appreciate it. And of course, each of our ministries and their teams, we appreciate the work that they're doing. We're going to go to Kwame and our communications team. He's going to share with you a little an update on what's to come as well. And Kwame is a friend of mine. He's a brother from another mother, but we're brothers in Christ. And I really appreciate the work that he's done behind the scenes. Go ahead, take it from here, Kwame.
Thank you, Pastor Scott. Just want to make it clear to everyone, I'm Jamaican, so I'm the better Scott. So don't focus on Pastor Scott right now.
You could mute me, yeah.
With communications, we are working in behind the scenes in revamping and creating the website for youth ministry. make it active and engaging for young people. There are a couple pages that we know for a fact will be used a lot, especially when it comes to events and some other little surprises that we have coming up. So that's one of the major things that we have coming up. Secondly, we have we want to, because of the COVID-19 and internet evangelism, we want to host a communications Zoom training session. We talked about it, but we had this town hall coming up, and we're prepping for a couple of the things that we didn't hammer out a date as of yet, but we want to share it with you. This is for all the communications persons on your team, communications persons in your region. We want to help you. We want to give you tips in how you can enhance what you've been doing on social media, just online for your churches and for your groups. So just get young people together. So those are the two things that we have going. The website we're working on diligently, and number two, we'll be doing the training session for your communications persons. That's pretty much it for me for now.
Joan is calling you to come and talk.
All right, Kwame, you're through?
Yes, my wife was just telling me.
Oh, okay.
That you're calling me.
And we want to thank Cindy for lending you to us and helping us. Many of the flyers and designs that you see going out, this comes from our communications led by Kwame. So thank you, Kwame. Wanted to also mention that we also have a new person who's working with us in our communications. Her name is Chriselle. Say hi, Chriselle.
Hello.
So she's working right along with us. She also works with recently with ACF in their communication shop. So we really appreciate her. So she's our recent associate co-chair for communications. All right, so you'll hear more from her, and then you'll see more of her. We really appreciate her spirit and her smile and her willingness as well. Thank you so much. And now we're going to go to is a Bible Bowl. Is Brother Chester online? Brother Chester online? Would like to say something about Bible Bowl.
Yes, I am, Pastor.
You want to come closer to your mic?
All right, 1 second to make some adjustments here.
Oh, go ahead, Brother Chester. All right, go ahead.
All right. Trying to stay incognito here. I want to say, Pastor, thank you for the opportunity. I want to just extend my appreciation for the work that you're doing and your team. We've all been affected by COVID-19, but we are doing the best we can. Just a bit about Bible Bowl, and we're scheduled Bible Bowl to do our annual Bible Bowl local games in July. Due to COVID-19, we've moved it up to September. As of this time, we are hoping that we'll be able to go forward with it. This year, Ontario is scheduled, I almost said is scheduled to host the National Bible Bowl. The teams from the US who participate in Bible Bowl are supposed to be traveling to Ontario. We have everything in place, and by faith, we are pushing forward. We're communicating with the entities that we have booked our conference room with, and right now they are not working, but I've had the opportunity to communicate with the gentleman that is coordinating for us. So as it is right now, we're still planning to go ahead, and we don't know, at the end of mid to the end of June, we'll make the final decision. If you have churches in the area that are still interested in participating in Bible Bowl, we are asking you just to send off a note to Pastor Scott, and we will furnish you with the information. Our texts are Matthew, Ezra, Nehemiah, Leviticus, Isaiah, first and second, third John judges. But like I said, if you are interested in moving forward with Bible Bowl in your local area, just send off a note to Pastor Scott, and we will get you all the information that you need. But we are moving forward, and our local games will take place in September, early September. And if that's not the direction that we will go, we'll probably try and do something online. But if we don't make the September date, then unfortunately we won't have our international, probably moving until next year. So that's our update from Bible Bowl. And we're hoping that you have information, you have churches that are interested. Please let us know. We have our Bible Bowl coordinator, Brother Donovan Gibson, as well as our promotional team under Brother Freddie Guthrie. And so they can get information out to you and in your local areas. Thank you. God bless, and keep up the good work.
All right. Thank you so much, Brother Chester. I like that hat you got there. My kind of thing.
It's covering a multitude of sins. My wife said,
very good, very good. And this is a great opportunity for young people to study their word at home.
That's right.
So feel free to join up if you're in a church that doesn't have a team. Feel welcome to be part. It's fun. It's a very great activity, and it's good for us to get back to the Bible and learn and grow and increase. So thank you so much, Chester, for your ministry and the team that is working right along with you. Thank you so much. And now we'll go straight to Brother Akil, who's our associate, who is our co-chair for this ministry, Adventist Christian Fellowship, and we'll go directly to him at this time.
Thank you, Preacher. Yes, so ACF has been very busy. It's been nonstop. As you see there, we hosted a Netflix party. We watched The Blind Side, and we had a really good experience. We've had church on campuses that have been occurring in January and February, and we had our annual winter retreat in which we had over 200 participants present. It was a blessed experience. Since COVID had begun, some of our church on campuses that were planned ended up being canceled, but a lot of our clubs continued to meet via virtual Bible study using Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Google Hangouts. They encouraged each other. In terms of what ACF in Ontario has moving forward, we will be doing a joint Vespers series this May. So every Friday in May, starting this coming Friday, we'll be doing Vespers. Our clubs will be doing some local leadership transitions. So some of our presidents and exec teams will be changing. Some of our presidents are graduating, and we'll be bringing on new leaders. We'll be hoping to do a leaders retreat, preferably in person in the summer. But if social gathering restrictions remain as they are, then we'll do a virtual leaders retreat. Planning for our fall Eastern and Western Ontario ACF retreats will be underway momentarily. And these are the two retreats that happen in the fall to kick off the school year for Western Ontario, which is from Toronto straight down to Windsor, and then Eastern Ontario, which is Oshawa all the way to Ottawa. We'll be developing some leadership trainings for our exec teams for the different roles that they fulfill, just to help in terms of orientating them to these new roles that they're taking on, and as a refresher for those who are going back into these roles. And lastly, we have been working on the development of a yearbook. The yearbook is nearing its completion, and we are very excited for what it's going to look like. We'll be sending it out when it's finished, and it'll be available for purchase, but it'll sort of capture everything that's happened in this school year. From the NAD, NAD ACF has a meeting with all ACF chapters that happens every Sabbath at 6. So the one for today started 19 minutes ago. I wasn't planning to be on it, but that one happens every Sabbath. And then usually they have something called ACFI, which is a training experience for all ACF leaders in the division. This usually happens in the summertime. It was scheduled this year to be at Indiana University from the end of June to the beginning of July, from the end of July to the beginning of August. It has unfortunately been canceled, and instead they're going to be reverting to a 3-day virtual program. So the ministry continues, the work continues, and if you are a student or you know any students who need to be connected to ACF chapters at the clubs, we have over 15 in Ontario, please let us know. You can send us an email at acf@adventistyouthontario.org. We'll be glad to connect people so that they can stay fellowshipping and so they can help us achieve our vision, which is reach the campus, change the world. Back to you, preacher.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, Akil. And thank you all co-chairs for the various ministries within youth ministry for the presentations, your COVID presentations. You'll hear more from them in the question and answer. But for now, we're going to take a break and we're going to listen to another duo, the Divine and Harold Domingo. They're from the Barrie Seventh-day Adventist Church. And they consented to also do an acoustic duet. They're fun young people. Divine works with our Compassion team. She's also at school at York University and is a youth leader at her Barrie Church. So shout out to the Barrie Church and shout out to Durham Phil Can for the group that went earlier. We've got a lot of great young people here in Ontario, which is second to none. All right, we're ready.
Under your grace, your mercy amazes me. Under your wing, your shadow covers me. Your promise of love with my heart is safely undone. Speak to me, Lord. Your servant is listening over the noise. I hear you whispering, my hope has come, and my heart is safely undone. I found my fortress in you, and my soul is anchored with you. My resting place is in your name, forever safe. Speak to me, Lord. Your servant is listening over the noise. I hear you whispering, my hope has come, and my heart is safely undone. I found my fortress in you, and my soul is anchored with you. My resting place is in your name. I found my fortress in you, and my soul is anchored with you. My resting place is in your name, forever safe. Forever safe. Reaching out to save my weakness, covered by your strength, and forever safe. I found my fortress in you, and my soul is anchored with you. My resting place is in your name. I found my fortress in you, and my soul is anchored with you. My resting place is in your name, forever safe, forever safe.
All right, I want to thank Divine and Harold Domingo for that special number. There are some people who said that they couldn't hear it in the Zoom chat. We have a copy of it, so we'll share it with you. So sorry about that. We're all learning from this experience. All right. And just to let you know of some things that are happening coming up very soon, in addition to some of the things that you've already heard from our ministry co-chairs, we have what we call Rebound No Fear. It's going to be our live virtual worship experience. It's going to be on Saturday, September 20th. This was originally the date that we were going to have a day of service and worship together in place of camp meeting. Because this year was general conference session, and so we had canceled or postponed the camp meeting experience that we usually do in the month of June. But since we weren't going to host it, since we were going to host that event, but also in light of the fact that there's the coronavirus, we thought that we would switch and turn it into an online virtual experience. And so that's the weekend that it will be, Saturday the 20th. 2020. So look out. This is just a coming soon flyer for you, but we just wanted you to know about it. And another event that will be taking place later on this summer that we hope to have happen, and we hope that there won't be any hiccups, any COVID hiccups, that is to say. This is our annual mission trip, which we started last year. We hope to accomplish it this year, and we call it Project True North. And it's going to, it was done last year. We want to follow through with another one to the Northern Ontario, way north, over there in what is called Whitefish Bay area, where we can be building a fire hall for those of the Indigenous communities there. So that's going to be a great experience. And these are the details that you'd need to know about so that you can be part of it. We'll give you more news as things unfold, where our civic leaders are concerned, and as things, as places open, towns open, we'll keep you posted so that you be more informed. All right, so here we are. Wanted to have an opportunity for you to be able to ask some questions of your own. You heard so much today from Pastor Saul earlier on. You've heard from our co-chairs, and we also have with us, I missed something. We also have with us our presidents. And so I'm going to give our presidents an opportunity to be able to speak at this time relating to some of the events that they have coming up. And these are persons who are regional coordinators who lead in the various ministries on the ground.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
All right.
So my name is Matson, and I'm the youth president, the regional president, that is, for the Eastern Ontario region. And we've not been doing that much on the regional side of things, but the local churches have taken that step forward in having their youth utilize social media platforms such as Kahoot, TikTok, and IG for sure. they're especially Zoom. They've been holding exercise and workout sessions. They've been holding cooking classes. I know they've been holding prayer lines, ministries, and what's not. Even using old school radio broadcasting systems. I also know that there have been some outreach initiatives taking place whereby some of the youth were able and brave and willing enough to actually go out and help out with food banks because we've been seeing a dwindling in terms of supplies and canned foods around the Ontario region. And I'm sure this is the same case that most folks are facing during this time. Other than that, we are looking to actually hear and follow up across the region, the Eastern Ontario region, with a program, a virtual worship and testimonial program that is still in the birthing stage. It's going to be entitled Finding God's Peace. The date is still tentative, but the aim of it is to pretty much encourage youth from across Eastern Ontario through virtual fellowship to come together to motivate each other through testimonies and through a song during this crisis. So with that being said, we're going to have the local pastors across our region pretty much do a 2-minute sermonette, give an example of someone in scripture who've also faced isolation and who've overcome, and also to have songs and short testimonies from youth across the region. So that's what we're looking to actually lay out on the regional side of things for pretty much an overcoming period through all of this. So other than that, we just have our youth taking it day by day, not to take up too much of their time. Let's put it at that. I know some of them are bored, but some of them also want to do other things. So with that being said, that's pretty much it, what's kicking on the Eastern Ontario side of it. Thanks, Pastor.
Very much, Matson, President for Eastern Ontario. That's for all the churches and the youth in those churches in the east end of Ontario. We're going to come further, closer west. We're going to turn to Brother Jason Romans. He's the president for East Central Ontario Regional Youth Association. Floor is yours, Jason.
Hello. So, as Pastor said, my name is Jason Romans. I'm the president for East Central, not Eastern, Ontario, East Central. So those are the churches from Whitby, Oshawa, all the way to Kingston. In between, we have Cobourg, Peterborough, Lindsay, Madoc. So far, again, because this region is probably the newest out of the ones that you see here in terms of the leadership structure. But so far, we've been focusing on some of the ground level stuff. So just trying to make those connections with our youth and young adults. So some of the things that we've been doing so far is actually contacting youth and young adults in our region to post something every day, something meaningful to them, something positive, some words of hope and encouragement as it relates to the time that we're in. And of course, they can use any method they like. And that will hopefully get as many of our youth and young adults across our region to become more involved and to recognize that there is a region here that's supporting them. We also we're going to be starting, we don't have the exact date just yet, and that will come shortly, but we're going to be having a movie night on Netflix, as well as a games night on a separate Saturday evening. We want to structure it more like an AY program. The main thing that we want to do as well is to have a live concert. So using IG Live, have a ECRYA concert, where we'll be inviting multiple performers to come on, do their piece, and again, have it as a concert. And the last thing that we're looking into, which is in a very, very early stages, I'm sure it was mentioned before as an idea, but we actually want to take on the caremongering idea where we go and help seniors, not just members in our congregations, but also seniors within our community. So right now we're looking into liaison with some of the external organizations that may be at this moment already doing that. And once we make those connections and are able to do the planning with them and to figure out how the risk that we face. Then we'll go ahead and start working on that. But as it stands now, those are just some of the main things that we will be doing over the next few weeks.
Well, thank you very much, Jason. Thank you for your work there in East Central Ontario. And thank you for your COVID update. All right, we're going to go to Ernest, who's representing Laverne Row for Metro West Central.
Okay, hi guys. So for Metro West Central, what we started doing is that prior to our Youth Week of Prayer, some of our churches leaders came into a good initiative that we could create the days that we have. So we started with like Bible Study Sunday, Motivational Monday, Testimony Tuesdays, Worship Wednesdays, Thankful Thursdays, and then we went on with that. And then we had like a little section where each church got a chance to lead out in those sections. And currently we have a logo contest. We wanted to hear most of our youth, to hear their voice as well. So we had like a logo contest right now that is active, that we want our youth to be creative within our region to come up with some ideas that we can have for the logo for our region. So that's what we're currently doing. And also going forward, we are going to focus mostly on the individual churches to make sure that we engage our youth throughout the week, so that so technology wise, some of our individual churches have like some stay home challenges. We also want to engage the youth. So we made a survey and then we send it out to all the leaders for the youth to also keep voicing out what they want to do specifically, so that we can keep focusing and making programs around something that is around their area. So right now, that is what we're doing currently for both our youth and young adults. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ernest. Really appreciate your work in Metro West Central and the work that you're doing in your local congregation as well. And thank you so much for your COVID update. All right. I think we have one more, Vilmara from Metro South Central. I hope I didn't miss any other regional president. If I did, just raise your hand. Go ahead, Vilmara.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It's good to see your faces. So my name is Vilmara Lucas. I am the president for Metro South Central. And our region is is composed for 14 churches located south of Highway 401 and between Highway 127 and Don Valley Parkway. So in response to this new reality, we did a series of IG Lives, and it was called Let's Connect. So firstly, we focused on the topic of relationships. So we had 3 IG Lives on Friday night. So we started 3 Fridays ago. And the first topic was relationship with God. And we had a Pastor Nicholas Patrick from Hope Church, and Brittany also from Hope Church facilitating and talking. And we had a very good feedback from youth. They participated, they sent questions. It was a very open conversation with practical examples of how we can improve our relationship with God, especially during this time. And then 2 weeks ago, I spoke with Pastor Patrick Jacques, my pastor from Canisa Fellowship, and we spoke about ways to build a good relationship with yourself, especially now because we are self-isolating. So we spend a lot of time with ourselves. So we took questions from people live and we answered them. Pastor Jacques is a clinical therapist, so he provided a lot of practical examples and of ways we can have healthy relationships with yourself, improving self-love and less self-criticism. And just yesterday, we had Ruth from Esperanza Seventh-day Adventist Church talking with Pastor Paulo Tenorio, who is the youth director from Texas Conference, and they spoke about ways to improve relationship with family during this time that some of us we are spending a lot of time with people in our household. So how we can improve the relationship and have healthy relationships during this time that we are spending a lot of time with each other. It was a dynamic conversation as well, practical, frank conversation. And the good thing is that if you miss that, especially if you are from Metro South Central, the conversation is posted for 24 hours. So we can still go back to our page, Metro South Central _RAY, and you can still access that conversation. It's still posted there until today, 7 o'clock. So yeah, you may be able to see it or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, but make sure you go and check that out. For the future, we just gathered feedback from youth leaders and from youth. We asked them what they thought, and they really enjoyed the Let's Connect IG Live. So for the future, we aim to continue doing that and covering different themes. So if you are from Metro South Central, a youth leader, I really encourage you to be active and let us know what is it that your young people are in need of talking about, so we can address those topics. So God bless you and thank you.
Unmute, yeah. Thank you so much, Vilmara. Appreciate your ministry in leading Metro South Central. These are the churches that are in the central of Toronto and further south of the 401. All right, we're going to go now to Michaela. She is with Metro West, and she's going to share a COVID update from that region. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody. Okay, so my name is Michaela Dennis, and Metro West consists of Brampton and Mississauga churches. And together but separate, we have different events that are going on within the Peel region, which is Brampton and Mississauga. So to find out more about what events are happening, who is doing what, the different youth who are shining in different areas, you can check out our Instagram page, which is Metro West RIA. And that's where we post any and every event that will be happening, whether it is church service to the different challenges, including our participation in the teen Don't Rush, but Sabbath Best Challenge. Separate apart from that, we are a small project that we've been working on is, we call it the Lemon Challenge. So Matheson mentioned this earlier, that our food banks are running out of food, and that's not just local to this region, but also almost worldwide, even if we're just speaking of from a Canadian and American perspective. So we wanted to see how we could impact or have some impact in helping people who are hungry get food as much as possible, especially at this time of COVID-19. So we started this thing, we are planning this thing called the Lemon Challenge, where to raise awareness for each the different food banks and the need for food and funding for the purpose of food. We wanted to say that anybody who eats challenge, sorry about that, anyone who does the Lemon Challenge will share, you challenge someone to eat a whole lemon, and in doing so we're hoping that each person go to our website. That will be, we haven't posted it yet, but our website would be the lemonchallenge.co, and you can donate anything from $5, $10 to any amount furthermore, and you can search and find a food bank within your area to which that donation could go towards. That we also have an app to which each food bank can register and have the money donated directly to them. So instead of people moving from the sites and then going to multiple different sites. We have the different food banks all listed in the app or website, and they can donate directly to them. So that's what we're working on right now. And we're asking for your prayers as we are anywhere between 1 week to 3 weeks complete on completing this project. All right, so that's where we're at.
All right. Thank you, McKellar. Truly appreciate your COVID update. And for all of our regional presidents who shared, thank you so kindly for your updates just as well. I need to remember to look at this camera up here. There are a couple of questions that came to us. I hope those of you who are looking online, you keep sending your questions to us. Someone asked, will these slides be made available? Definitely they can be made available. We can send them out to you. Just simply send us your email. You could post them here, or you can send them to info@adventistyouthontario.org. That's info@adventistyouthontario.org. And you can send us any comments or any questions that you have, or if you're requesting these flyers, even this presentation, it's yours. We'll post these as well online so that you can have them to download. And you can review, you can take them to your church, you can have these conversations with your youth group as well. Another question that came to the fore is, how can we find a way to keep our youth and young adults interested in church or church activities during COVID and after COVID? So while it's going on as well as after. All right, so we're going to open the floor for any responses to this person and her question. How do we keep youth and young adults engaged during COVID? Who would like to hazard a comment? And maybe we can ask the person, her name is Aline. Aline. All right, floor is open.
Well, I think Eileen comes from the Eastern Ontario Regional Youth Association, so I think it only respectable that the president of that Regional Youth Association take on the answering of that question.
Yeah, I'm bantering back.
It's Aline Alexandre. Yeah, that's Eastern Ontario. So during this time, I know a lot of leaders are looking to engage their youth, and a lot of them are not getting full participation from them. And to some extent, it's understandable, right? So it's like no one's fault as to why they can't participate, because we really don't know the situation in which a lot of our youths are facing, whether it's mental health or whatever, or whether or not they have access to Zoom or social media, such as the fact that some of our youth don't even have access to Facebook and Instagram. And another point to add to that is that there are also a lot of ideas out there during this COVID time whereby we should engage or encourage our youth to do this and to do that, which in the wild, we can't have them do every single thing that is out there. So we have to start little, see what they're interested in, and we can shred the rest and pretty much engage and encourage them to participate in whatever they show interest into, right? And with that also being said, after the fact that COVID is over, as Pastor made mention, it's going to be a new norm, not just norm anymore, because now our eyes are somewhat open to different ideas, different ways of approaching stuff. But yet still, again, I think building a strong relationship with our youth, especially in the time as such, is pretty vital. Follow up with them, reach out to them, check up on them, check in, see how they're doing. And when this blows over by God's grace soon, hopefully, they will now see the real you, or they'll see a different side of you to now acknowledge that you actually care about them. And they'll even want to participate even more in ministry. So just to share to Aline what she can take back to her youth, and for other youths out there, and for other leaders out there who are like worried about the dwindling in numbers, don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. That's what I can tell you. It's all going to be over soon.
Awesome. All right. Who'd like to either do a counter comment or you want to offer supportive or even a different comment?
I think this Ernest. I think we can also like do the approach of surveys for the individual youth to like anonymous surveys to pinpoint what they want to do, and this is like a general problem. And then most of our individual churches have something different going on with the youth, which if we have an avenue or we have some of the leaders tackle those issues, and then after that we can find a way we can resolve that issues locally. Because if there's an issue going on locally, I don't think the region is going to do anything that is going to make the local to get them to join anything. So surveys, same as Matson said, like reaching out to them as well. And I think that can also be another way as well.
All right. Brother Keel, we missed you for your region. I know you're representing, you have two hats these days, but Southern Ontario.
Yes,
Your COVID
Southern
update.
Ontario, also known as the Southern Ontario Adventist Regional Youth Network, SORN. We haven't been doing much COVID. We were supposed to have our youth seminar on May 16th, and that has been postponed to the fall. But you know, we'll be continuing with our plans for our Southern Ontario camp meeting. That'll be occurring at the end of June. June 26, 27, and 28. It'll be a virtual camp meeting that is going to be broadcasted all of Ontario through conference support. And so we're looking at some interesting speakers because of the live stream nature of this. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but you're going to see some flyers come out soon. But the Ontario camp meeting is going to be occurring June 26, 27, and 28. Back to you there, preacher.
All right. You froze there a little bit, so, and I'm hearing two of you, but it's okay. All right.
Mercy.
All right. Do we have any questions from? Thank you so much, Akil. We have any questions from the public? Any youth leaders out there who have a question for us? All right. Brother Luke, go ahead.
Yes, sorry about that.
No
hello, everyone. As Pastor Scott said, my name is Luke Charles. I'm here actually representing the Near North. I apologize, I didn't say something earlier on, but I should make a note because I don't want the hard work of our youth leaders in the Near North to be overlooked. We aren't doing anything as a complete region, but as I said, the youth leaders have been doing a lot locally, engaging the youth throughout the week, doing some local initiatives, even reaching out to people during COVID-19. And even in speaking with some of these youth leaders, there is a point that I would like to share in response to the question that we were just discussing about how we keep youth engaged during this time. And I think something like that is very common to all of us. In our region, something that I've seen, and I think you all could relate, that consistency is also a really important thing to bear in mind. So I want to encourage you and say, if your initiatives and your programs are not getting the level of support that you would have liked, don't be discouraged. Just remain consistent, stay the course, keep on working, keep on praying, and in time, things will work out. God will bring people there to be blessed and to share in the moments with you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Luke. Appreciate it. Very good word of encouragement. All right, go ahead, Kwame.
Just to go back to the question that was asked about what if our young people are losing interest. I think one of the things that we as young people, as a church, have to address is that for far too long, we've kind of, this is not bashing anybody, it's just something that myself have used. This going to church mentality is a crutch for a spiritual life. And we have to be prudent in taking the time out to encourage our young people to have a personal relationship with Jesus. Because a couple questions being posted about Sunday law and end of times. And this is a part of our faith, a part of our doctrine. And we're not gonna, COVID has given us the opportunity to realize that we're not gonna always have the opportunity to come together as a church, as a large group. So we need to have that our own personal relationship with Jesus Christ, that we can survive on our own. Like I said, for a long time in our church culture, we've used this thing of coming to church, going to church gathering as a spiritual crutch, and we rely on the testimonies of other people. Not bashing, I did the same thing. But we need to take the time out to encourage our young people to have that devotional time with God, pray like Daniel prayed 3 times a day. Not just for spiritual empowerment, but also for mental health. Pastor Saw talked about that's been proven in mental health, dealing with anxiety, that having something outside of yourself, your faith, can help a lot with anxiety, dealing with anxiety disorder. So just to answer the question, and I hope I did, we need to kind of go back and encourage our young people to seek to have their own devotional time with God. Because a lot of time we're going to have something online or something happening somewhere. We need to be able to have that one-on-one with God, that we can survive no matter what happens.
Very well. Good words. And that was another idea that came to the fore from one of our regional presidents about, taking this time to going back to sort of the basics, back to the basics, and spending time with God. What a better time to do it. We have a couple more questions. We'll take these and then this will be it. Someone asked, are there any tips on motivating our youth leadership team? So much of our conversation has been on how we as leaders could help our youth. What about any tips on motivating our own youth ministry team or youth leadership team? That comes from Ashley. Who would like to jump on and start that part of the conversation? Go ahead, Jason.
I think it first starts with maintaining those relationships that you have with them. Because I'm sure if they're on your team, you know a little bit about them, and you've been working them at least for a few months. So just maintain those relationships with them, and you'll be able to get a sense of where their mind is in terms of how they're handling this. And that might give you a bit of indication as to whether or not maybe the reason as to why they're not serving as they would normally. But also I think the next thing to do is also to have a Zoom meeting, like this, a face-to-face meeting, and actually ask them about some of the things that they think could be good ideas. So they're on a leadership team. They've always been driven to plan things and to see things being executed. So get them in a forum like this where you can ask them their ideas, ask their suggestions, and see what they're doing. But also specifically pay attention to who is suggesting what. So for example, somebody may start to suggest maybe doing a concert on IG. And you see them start to get really motivated, really excited about that idea. When the meeting is done and you start your planning process, talk to that person. Ask them to be in charge of that. Ask them to lead that part of it and give them support. Because chances are, if they became very excited about a particular topic, they'll more likely continue with it. So just using those methods, I think, are some really good ideas to try and get your team to get back on board of serving.
Very good. Very good. Anybody wants to jump on that?
I guess it's more
All
like
right. Oh, go ahead, Jonah.
I was just gonna say more of the support of it. Like even in my experience with compassion, And even though like I've been in and out just because of the circumstances, but through it all, and definitely like even though we make time for devotion, we always made sure to check in. And even those who have been inactive, we've split it up where active members get to know non-active members and reach out and see how they are. And we would always regroup back to saying like, hey, like this has been happening. Let's pray for them if they have to. Or, hey, just want to let you know, like they're still in it, because you never know, like again, like what Jason said, is you don't know what the mindset's at. And when people do share and start to get more involved and know that this is not just a responsibility as a leader, but to know that they are being truly cared for and being ministered to, they'll have this passion to minister back in whatever creative ways that can be possible and whatever that comes in their minds, for us to say, yeah, that's a great idea, given an affirmation.
Very well. Thank you very much, Jonah. All right. And then these are very, very good responses coming through. Hope that you feel satisfied with some of the answers that we're offering. The answers that we're offering are not everything, but they come from the perspective as well as the experiences of the team that we have here in this panel. All right, here's our final question. The final question comes from Alvia. Shout out to Alvia and her church there in Peterborough. She's on our teens team. What are some worship ideas that regional teams have tried that didn't work? Sharing the failures so we don't make the same mistakes. Can I see the hands of all of those of us who have made mistakes in our program planning? All right, so all those of you who have actually put your hands up, what are some pitfalls that you could identify for our leaders out there who are serving in both the church level as well as the regional, where you can show them the minefield so that they don't make the same mistakes? Floor is open for any of you. This will be our last question.
Hi there. It's a great question. I think one of the most important thing when planning is knowing your audience. So even if you may have a great idea, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work. And even if it didn't work for a particular region, it also doesn't mean that that same idea won't do wonders for your region. So it's important to know your people, important to know what drives them, what motivates them, what encourages or inspires them. So definitely, I also just want to add that I don't believe that anything tried is a failure. I really believe it's just another way of not doing it. So it's definitely a learning process. And the only time we really fail is when we don't try. So definitely know your people, listen to them, and not just listen to what they say, but listen to what they don't say. And I think that's really good, a really powerful thing. We have to learn to be intentional listeners. And many times as leaders or president, then we listen to answer, but we don't listen to understand. So it's about forming relationships. In terms of worship ideas, there's so many out there. Like the challenges that were posted earlier, you can get those, I'm sure, from Pastor Scott. Creative ways, cooking, Bible challenges, hymn challenges. This week I discovered we can have a hymn challenge. I never thought about that, but we'll be doing that soon in our region. So definitely get to know your people and pool your resources. Our strongest resources are our people. So ask them what they want to do, what they don't want to do, and just try everything. You never know. You may just find your sweet spot when you're not looking for it.
All right. Thank you, Dora. She's president for Metro North Central. Is there anyone who would like to add to what you're saying in terms of listening to them, trying any number of ideas? There will be some failures, of course. Anybody want to jump on top of that? I see Jexter, who's here, but I don't know if he wants to say anything. Anyone could jump on and share your comments on this. I think this is a very valid question for all of us. We'll take one more comment. Jason, go ahead.
I think another pitfall is time and being inflexible with it. So of course we've probably experienced that in the past, but especially now more, where we don't really pay attention to the time that the program is being occurring for. For example, I've been on some event, some of these Zoom calls, and we start to notice after a certain time, you had like 30 people, and then you look again, it's like, wait, did it get small? And you have like 24, and you have like 16, you have like 18. So you start to go past the time where persons are being engaged. And because you had in your mind of this great idea and you want to see that entire conclusion, you want to see it come to fruition, you keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And you see the numbers going down, you see their faces getting really, you start to look down more, they start to look all over the place, screens start to slowly go black, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, what happened? So I think recognizing the time that's happening, even if you have an entire program plan in your head, just paying attention to what you're seeing in the same way you do a program in lifetime where you're doing a discussion. If you notice your participants they're not really paying attention, you probably adjust and pivot and then try a different idea in that moment. I think we need to try and adopt that same thing here where we don't just keep pushing and not seeing that activity. And hopefully that would keep them motivated and still being involved.
Very well. Thank you so much for the commentaries that you offered on that last question. Thank you so much for all the responses. And as we close, we want to close on the right positive tone. And so if you're in your room and you haven't been able to get up and you want to walk, this very last song is going to make you walk or move or whatever. So wherever you are, you're looking online, or if you're right here in this panel, you can get up and you can stretch as we listen to this song from this choir. Their name is New Genesis Gospel Choir. They're founded in February 2016. They gathered a number of youth and young adults from all across the GTA. And it's a group that tries to demonstrate and impact and influence the gospel wherever they can, especially also young people. They do not only minister in music, gospel music, they also engage in various outreach activities to help spread positivity in GTA. Their most recent project inviting youth of all ages and denominations to join a virtual choir to demonstrate strength and unity in God during this time of self-isolation. They've allowed us to play this beautiful song to you today as we close out. And so we're going to key it up, and I hope that you enjoy.
With one accord.
That was a new Genesis Gospel Choir under the direction of Andre Williams. I want to thank our young people for their creativity and using Zoom and all these social media stuff that is out there, mediums to create music in this way. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope you had fun as they sang along, as we could sing along with them in every praise to our God. Of course, if you wanted to hear from any of our artists that sang tonight, just reach out and I can send you their numbers and their contact details. They'd love to fellowship with you and worship with you at some point. Well, we're at the end of our virtual town hall. Hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for the questions. For those of you who are watching online and for those of us who are here, the panel today, our leaders here at YMAC, truly appreciate your presence and the information that you were able to offer, the creativity that is found in this virtual room, truly appreciate it. And for all who helped to make it happen, my good friend Manny Al-Kaidi, who set everything up. There was a couple of kinks. We were supposed to host it both on YouTube as well as Facebook. The most we were able to do is host it live on YouTube, but we weren't able to host it live on Facebook. There's a link where people can sort of go back to YouTube. If we were to host it, we tested it a couple of times, but as some things are out of your control. But the next time that we do it, hopefully these kinks are worked out. But we hope that the time that we spent together was fruitful for you. We hope that you enjoyed yourself, and wherever you are, in the living rooms of your home or wherever you may be with your youth groups, you can go back now and have these conversations with your youth leaders and talk about how God can work with each one of us individually, but also as a group, as collective groups, working and serving in our local church community for the empowerment of our youth. So I wish each one of you well. Perhaps we will come back to do a town hall later on, maybe in the new month, and to bring you new information and to hear from you even more. Maybe the next one we'll hear more from you, and maybe you can maybe there will be a process where we can get you to send some questions ahead of time so that we could have that as a main portion of our conversation. So wishing you all the best, wishing you a happy month of May. And I hope that as you have been so blessed, I hope that you also be a blessing to the world around you. Thanks to our presidents, our regional presidents. Thank you to our co-chairs. Thank you for pastors who have been with us as well. And now as we close, we're going to invite Sister Michaela to offer a closing prayer for each one of us this evening.
No problem. All right, let's pray. Dear God, thank you for bringing us together as leaders. Lord, you have given us this responsibility, but not just giving us, but you know that with our willingness, you will equip us. So, Lord, as we go through this very interesting time called the global pandemic of COVID-19, I pray and ask that you will not just empower us and encourage us, but be ever so present in each and every one of our lives. Lord, from every aspect of our lives, from financially to emotionally to spiritually, and help us to be of service to others in this time. Be your inspiration or guide and the creative creator that you are. Bless those who are watching this now, those who are on this call, and those who you are asking us to impact their lives. Be with us as we pray, as we get through the rest of this night. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Thank you. God bless you this evening, and we will see you once again. Thank you so much.
Can I end it?
Yeah, you could end it.
None of them wants to end.
All right. Huh?
Nobody wants to leave. There we go, one by one.
You guys just chilling out?
was 9.
Then there was 9.
There's 8.
Who's going to be cooking out there?
There was 7.
Then there were 7.
Then there was 6.
Jexter, it's good to see your picture. Jason, thanks so much for your comments today.
Yeah, no problem. This was great though. Like I'm already excited to start. I've gotten so many ideas and
Yeah, it's kind of almost information overload, eh?
yeah. I'm actually surprised how well you're able to handle all the different aspects though. No lie. Like
Yeah, there's been a few things going.
It worked though. I was just like, oh yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Try
Most of
that.
my, I guess, I was hiding the whole time.
Jex, what were you saying?
Sorry, I was hiding my video the whole time. Sorry, but I was listening. It was. I think it was a great presentation overall, and I.
Are you doing good?
Oh yeah, doing good. All right, Pastor. I will. Until next time.
Okay, then no problem. And you stay strong.
All right, man. I'm praying for you
right,
too.
then.
Bye-bye.
Good. Take care. God bless. Till next time.
And we're out.
And we're out.
And all for